Hi, welcome to Hempfield Happenings. I'm your host, Lizzie Pegg, and this month we explored many topics ranging from some of Hempfield's very own student swimmers to the Amish and Mennonite communities in Lancaster and much more that you can see on Hempfield Happenings this month. Amidst the 2020 chaos, Hempfield was one of many Pennsylvanian schools that had to adapt to new circumstances. During the district's pandemic policies, the music department at Landisville Primary Center had to get creative with the chorus classes in elementary school.
1, 1, 1, 2, try it, go. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 8, 5, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sixth graders at each of the Hempfield elementary schools have an opportunity to join a chorus, and Landisville Intermediate Centers just started back up after COVID in January.
The chorus is going to be getting prepared to sing for the combined festival, choral festival at the high school. That's one of my favorite concerts to prepare for. The kids love to go up to the high school and perform with all the other kids in the elementary schools. We're going to be doing the song Could Have Had It All. We're going to be doing a Spanish song called Yo Vivo Cantada, which will be fun. And a couple others we'll add in as we go through. So that's what we'll be working on.
Cross, yep, back, and then we did swinging, swing, 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 right? Another box step, oops, another box step, and then jump in. I don't know, right? We did that, so we have that going on, I don't know.
The elementary school courses operate differently than the high school and middle school versions.
First of all, any student who wants to be in chorus can be in chorus. They don't have to audition or anything. And then when they come here, I like to put them into part 1 and part 2. So at the elementary level, we don't call it soprano or alto yet. We just call it part 1 and part 2. And I flip-flop. One time you're part 1, the next time you might be part 2.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One clap right there. All right, let me take it back to the beginning, and then we'll have you guys do it. All right, here you go.
The sixth graders involved each have their own reason for participating.
Because I love singing, and I always wanted to join chorus ever since 4th grade.
I decided to join because I think I wanted to try out singing, and my brother used to do it, or he did it when he was in 6th grade.
I decided to join the chorus because I really like singing, and a lot of my friends from middle school and high school said it was really fun.
Does everything else have it all?
I don't have snow or the other one.
Okay, don't need snow. What's the other one?
Like the ding ding.
Even though the program is up and running again, it doesn't mean everything is completely normal.
Right. So usually in chorus I have around 100 to 110 kids. This year with the challenge of COVID, we have 20 students that signed up. So that is a little worrisome because we're a feeder into the middle school and then eventually the high school program. So hopefully next year with some big recruiting, we can get back to our normal numbers.
Despite the setbacks, LIC's chorus has started again and hopefully will be back to its full potential soon. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Paige Harrington.
1, 2, ready, go. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1.
Hempfield encourages students to learn just one of the multiple language courses our school has to offer. Our district has many linguistic classes, one of which is the German program. Davy Striegel explores their use of gnomes to enhance the learning of a new language.
Behind me is the German classroom, where students are discovering new ways to learn language.
The GNOME program has been at Hempfield since 2004, It's branching off of the Adopt an Escargot program, which the French department used to use back in the day.
Students adopt a gnome who is fleeing from a bad situation in Germany. They're coming to America where German students can provide a better home, more safety, more security, and learn more about American culture while we learn about theirs.
The gnomes provide a new perspective on the German language.
The gnomes are basically the vehicle to make the grammar and the vocab a lot more fun and a lot more personalized.
Students get to practice their writing skills, their communication skills. We do several different essays based off of the gnomes, some new grammar concepts, prepositions.
We are progressing through German. We're learning new vocab terms and more ways of saying different phrases.
We've got presentational, interpersonal, and interpretive communication skills being taught to our students and practiced through all of these different projects.
Each weekend you do a weekend adventure where you just take pictures of your gnome either around your house or outside or wherever you're going and just write sentences about that.
I had a student who had their gnome go flying on a drone. I've had gnomes riding skateboards and playing basketball. And it's really fun to see the students interact with the gnomes outside of the German classroom.
These gnomes aren't just for protecting your garden. They have their own unique personalities and backstories.
What happens is we are contacted by someone called the Great Garden Gnome from Germany, and he asks our students if it's all right if we adopt some of these poor gnome children. There's a matchmaking process where we try and match up personalities because these gnomes come to us with personalities. So we try and find the best match for the American students and the gnomes.
This is Nugget. He is 68 years old. His favorite colors are green, silver, and white. He likes to speak different languages such as French, German, and he wants to learn Spanish.
At Hempfield, there are many dangers for gnomes.
We have some faculty members here at the high school that are renowned for hunting or kidnapping gnomes. We do have some horrible things in which, for some reason, the gnomes come back to us with gnome pox that is very contagious. So the gnome has to be at least 10 feet away from any other gnome, social distancing for gnomes, or else it could spread. We've had gnomes who have lost part of the bench that they sit on, and the bench has been replaced by a 2x4, or the body is broken, so they turn into cyborg gnomes. So, yeah, we've had some interesting things happen to gnomes.
Despite these dangers, the gnome program is fun and enriching. From Hempfield Happenings, I'm Davey Striggle.
Today I'm interviewing Bill Gleason, Hempfield's new Safety and Security Supervisor. Welcome to Hempfield. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Bill Gleason, and I started here in the end of December as the Safety and Security Supervisor.
What responsibilities come with that position?
Well, basically, to keep it simple, it's maintaining and building a positive school climate. So making sure that things are as they are now and then increasing the climate. School climate determines school safety.
And what do you want to do to ensure a safe climate in Hempfield?
Well, basically, it's all about building relationships, building better relationships, stronger relationships, because the key for me with school safety is we need to intervene before a threat or at the time of a threat. And so early on, if we start to see some stressors in people, that's the time to make sure we have a system in place for someone to come forward with that information and we get the proper help to whoever the threat was involving, and then we don't have to respond to an incident because we've prevented it.
And what stressors do you see that you can jump on to prevent?
Well, there's a lot. Being in COVID for the past however many months or years now, that's led to a whole different type of stressors just within a family unit. A lot of times it's relationship has broken up. There's maybe some financial issues going on, but usually it's the loss of somebody close. So death in the family or divorce, that if somebody has had some stressors, that last big impact might cause them to do something. So it's important that we all keep eyes on each other. And if we know what stressors we're looking for when we're talking to our friends or our coworkers, that's the time we kind of pick up on maybe this person's acting a little differently, and let's just make sure that they check in with somebody.
How much experience do you have with this type of thing? Like, how long have you been doing this?
Well, specifically with school safety, it's been about 20 years. And again, prior to that, my experience in law enforcement, I think, really helped me to get to the school experience. And then I've pretty much been just a hands-on. Like, I don't have my master's degree, my doctorate degree. I didn't write papers on this stuff. It's basically from working with hands-on with students over the past 20 years that I kind of learned as I went.
What experiences have you had in the past that increases your confidence of your qualification for this position?
Well, when I was a police officer, I became involved, became interested in mental health, because as a cop, I'd run across people in crisis, routinely. And back in the day, I really didn't know what to do, because I didn't want to arrest a person if they were having a mental health episode. But I started taking some training, and I got to know what areas or what organizations offered services. And then I was able to steer different people towards mental health services. And then other officers, if they came across somebody in crisis, refer them to me. So it was the increase in dealing with mental health that got me interested even more so. And then I became a crisis negotiator. And most of the people that I dealt with that were suicidal or barricaded were experiencing some mental health issues at the time. A lot of them were self-medicating. But a lot of the things I had learned previously really helped me with that position. And then when it's having empathy for people and building relationships with them. And so when I got into school resource officer things, because in Lancaster we were the first urban police department to start school resource officer initiative, we kept that whole idea with us of have empathy, let's not try to arrest, let's do other things. And I found a lot of agencies, a lot of services, and got to know what they did. And so we could refer students to those places rather than giving them a citation or taking some sort of law enforcement action. So a lot of the things in my police career kind of led me over to when I started with the school district. My experience as a cop really helped me out in that area of, again, not going us against them with students, because that does not work. It's got to wrap your arms around everybody. So a lot of my police experience has helped me in the school districts.
After implementing empathy and thinking about mental health when dealing with people, what changes did you see?
Well, it took me a while to figure out, because as a police officer, if someone yelled at me, all right, and I'm out on the street, they either go away, they're going to get locked up, or they're going to get cited. But it took me years and years being in the education system to understand when a student might be venting at me, it really wasn't about me. That's just an outlet for them. And that was hard as a police officer, a prior police officer, to kind of put up with that. But then I quickly learned, if you get past that and find out what was the cause of that we had much better success with the student, and we were able to solve the problem. So it was kind of, again, my experience with the mental health and even the crisis negotiation. Let them vent on me for a little bit, and let's get to what the real issue is. And if we can take care of that, usually the person's very appreciative that I didn't use force, or I didn't try to have them locked up. All I was trying to do is get them the help they need.
And when coming across a situation like this, or like with a student, what steps do you take to ensure that they're okay and to make sure they don't harm other students?
Well, again, it's kind of like a team effort. I'd like to know from their friends, from their family, from their teachers, what's been going on with them. Usually you can see changes. Again, it's not something that happens like overnight where all of a sudden somebody snaps. So it's the time of those little changes. How come this person doesn't hang out with that friend anymore? How come they stop doing this activity and they're not doing anything else? That's where it's like kind of checking in with different sources to find out what's going on, and then trying to connect that person with somebody they trust or somebody that they're open to.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
Lancaster Central Market was established in 1730, and along with the city, they have strived to diversify. In recent years, several women have earned lead positions in this over 200-year-old market. Mary Goss is one of the only and current female lead market managers and co-ran the Central Market Trust for several years.
It's very important that women have a voice in any kind of job. And the Central Market Trust was very new, and so we kind of were the pioneers of the organization and getting things on track and the information stand, up and running, and just getting the trust in a better place, and also just getting the Central Market in a better place.
But even with all of Mary's qualifications, she still faces issues because of her gender.
There are some particular people that really don't like to take direction from a female, and so you do learn skills to be diplomatic.
As an independent owner of Perfect Pots and the president of Stand Owners, Laura Lapp has faced a totally different set of challenges.
I honestly don't know the percentage of women-owned businesses at Market, but I'm happy to be one of them and to have a presence there.
And then the $1 off bonus buck will be in the back.
Awesome, thank you. I kept everyone employed during the time of COVID, where a lot of other businesses were laying off their employees. I did the reverse and invested in my employees. And during that time, we spent a lot of time internally building up our team so that we were ready for a comeback.
This empowering move helped grow Perfect Pots and even led them to opening a freestanding store.
One thing I've always believed in is where you see that change is needed, rather than standing on the sidelines and complaining about or just vocalizing the need for change, just jump in and do it.
When Central Market opened in 1730, times were very different for women. But now, leaders like Laura Lapp and Mary Goss have built names for themselves with their innovation, intelligence, and patience. From Hempfield Happenings, I'm Abby Gingrich.
Several local student athletes have been training hard this school year. Hempfield has many athletic programs that excel here in Lancaster and beyond. Heading into the league finals, Josiah Pletcher went to see how the swimming team did this season.
The Hempfield swim team has historically been a great swimming program. Going in the league finals, the team was trying to continue this success.
I spoke with first-year head coach Casey Lear about his team before they went to league playoffs.
I posed a challenge to them. Last year we were coming off a fairly rocky year. It was a rougher year. And I told them this year, different style of training, different attitude, different atmosphere on the team. If we can create a newer Hempfield, then we can do really well. And the challenge going into this week, and we're seeded to do, is I want to place first, second, or third. Hempfield, Warwick Township have historically been those big three when it comes to swimming, and they still are. The Township and the Warwick are the two teams that we're competing with right now, sort of on their level. And our boys certainly rose to that, second in section this year, which is great. We beat Warwick, lost to Township, so Township's first. We're gonna come for them at leagues. Same with the girls. Girls unfortunately lost to both Manheim Township and Warwick, so they were third in the section this year, but they're seeded to get second at the league meets. But overall, I would say my expectation was to create a new environment, an athletic environment, an edge of competitiveness is really what I wanted, was to compete, because it is a varsity sport, and that's part of it, is learning how to compete, getting the discipline to train to compete, the desire to win. And my other expectation, my challenge for them was, let's perform really well this year, and so far they've exceeded every expectation I've had. I could not be happier with them. From last year to this year, this is a completely new Hempfield team. I go home on the bus from every meet, I leave every practice just thinking to myself, wow, we are doing such a good job. We are right where we need to be. We are better than where we need to be to make Hempfield this amazing swimming school like we were. We've got a really deep historic past of being this fantastic school, and getting us back there is something we're on the fast track to do.
The swimmers have had to put in countless hours in order to be successful.
So, they're here every day for 2 hours and they swim, and it's, if you've never swam before, it's way harder than it looks. They sacrifice other events, they sacrifice weekends for our Friday, Saturday invitationals. Thursday nights, Tuesday nights, they're up competing. In the off season, a lot of them do still train with a club program or with a summer league. So it's truly a year-round thing for most of them, and some of them are dual sport athletes, but you know, it's a grueling thing and it's a lot of effort.
One swimmer is sophomore Kieran George.
I mean, it's everything. You want to try and give your all at practice every day. It's 2 hours a day, 5 times a week. It takes effort and a lot of focus. I'll take like a 2 or 3 week break after districts, but I do club swimming, which is year round, so I'll jump right back into it and just stay in shape, really.
Going into leagues, Coach Lear had big expectations for his team.
I would love to swim better than we're seated. So they sent out like places, tentative places based off of times already. So we've all gotten to see that. They kind of know where they're seated place-wise. I'd love to do better than that. Right now, if we score exactly where we're seated, girls will be second, boys will be fourth. I think the boys can do way better than that, and I think we're going to do way better than that. And I want the girls to hold on and get that second place finish. Warwick is a tough team right now, but they lose almost 60% of their team next year. So hold on for second this year, aim for first next year. That's really the goal there.
The girls did exactly that, finishing second with many impressive performances, including senior Ella Root, who finished first in the 100-yard breast. Unfortunately, the boys did not find as much success.
We still had solid performances, but other teams had better placements, so they got more points, and we ended up fourth for boys.
A notable performance came from sophomore Jack Root, who finished third in the 50-yard free and fourth in the 100-yard free. The team might not have finished the season exactly as they wanted, but they all agree that great memories were made along the way. For Kieran, it was going the hot Z with his teammates after meets. For Coach Lear, it was a little deeper.
We went to our Warwick meet, and it was one of our last meets of the season. We went into this meet thinking we could come away with 2 second-place finishes this year. That meet was great, don't get me wrong, but that wouldn't be my favorite part. That meet was wonderful. They swam their hearts out. There were some excellent races. They competed really well. The boys came away with second. The girls, unfortunately, couldn't pull it out. Third, like I said earlier. But I think my favorite memory from the season so far is the bus ride home from that meet. Because I just remember looking at all of them on the bus and just thinking of how proud I was, because I did. Like I said, I had a goal in mind. I had an idea of what I wanted this team to be, and that was the night I realized that they had done it. And that's my favorite memory from the season, is just looking at all of them, and even though the girls lost and boys won, they were both equally happy on the way back, as they should have been, because they did it. They rose to the super hard challenge I gave them at the start of the season. So,
along with meeting this challenge, multiple swimmers qualified for districts and will be competing in March. After that, the team will look towards next season, where they will continue to develop the new Hempfield swimming team. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Josiah Pletcher.
This month, we're introducing a new Hempfield Happenings segment called Hempfield Highlights. We're highlighting the things that happen in the district during the month of February. First of all, Hempfield's indoor percussion ensemble delivered a great performance at the World Guard International Trumbull Regional in Connecticut. With a bronze medal, our team finished in 3rd place. 3 senior representatives, Caleb Eslager, Cam Harbo, and Adam Acker, will be playing in the MTC Tri-County All-Star football game in May. The HHS Jazz 1 Ensemble were awarded with an outstanding rating from the judges at the Cavalcade of Bands shows. Featured soloists include Justin Sukar, Emma Stuckey, Aiden Pronovost, and Stella Worley. After defeating Penn Manor, Hempfield's bowling team snagged the Lancaster Lebanon League Bowling Team title. And lastly, Hempfield's instructional technology specialist, Ms. Sue Allen, was awarded Teacher of the Year by the PA Association for Education, Communications, and Technology. Seeing a horse and buggy cruising down the street isn't uncommon when living in this area. In and around Lancaster, there's a well-established Amish and Mennonite community, but very few people can actually discern the two. Dylan Daisy goes more in depth into this topic.
I'm standing in front of the Landisville Mennonite Church, one of many around Lancaster. But very few people know the difference between Mennonite and Amish.
So, nope, I cannot.
I don't know, I just know Amish make those really good pies. Shoe fly pie?
Yes. No.
So the difference between the Mennonites and the Amish then became the variation between how they maintained their subculture after persecution became a bit less. When that slowed down, our young man by the name of Jacob Ammon had been an ordained Mennonite bishop, and he felt that in order to be faithful to the separated lifestyle that had come to define Mennonites, stricter rules needed to be kept. So he made a bigger deal out of wearing an untrimmed beard. He felt that it was important if someone was no longer to the local congregation's rules, that they would be shunned, socially ostracized. By that time, most of the Mennonites were not interested in doing that. And so he split off. His people were called the Amish, or Amish.
So the Amish came from the Mennonites. They wanted to be more conservative, and so it's a little bit easier to generalize what it is to be Amish, but Mennonite, there's a huge variation.
By the time that Mennonites and Amish came to America, they were already two different fellowships, two different churches. And as people know today, the Amish are still more strict when it comes to defining exactly how their people are to live.
All Mennonites are Christian, all are Anabaptist, but there are lots of variations of what it is to be Mennonite. There are really conservatively religious groups that there are horse and buggy Mennonites, there are black bumper Mennonites that only drive black vehicles, there are really progressive Mennonites that are more liberal and believe in social justice and don't necessarily wear plain clothing like head coverings for the women and stuff like that. A lot of people really don't know how to define what it is to be Mennonite, so they conflict that word with Amish. And so Amish, Mennonite, people aren't really sure of the difference, and it's just conservative people women wear head coverings and dresses, and they drive horse and buggies and things like that.
There are many ways to experience the Amish and Mennonite community. One of them is going to the local markets around Lancaster. And we all can't forget about those amazing whoopie pies and even more delicious desserts. The Amish and Mennonite community are just like you and me, average people doing what they can to best benefit the community. But they also make really good food. From Hempfield Happenings, I'm Dylan Daisy.
That brings us to the conclusion of our March episode. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in for next month's show when we follow along through the journey of senior lead Noah Felty's last musical experience at Hempfield. Until then, take in the fresh air and new beginnings of the spring approaching. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Lizzie Pegg.